To go. All right. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this week again. This is Elizabeth over with the white background, and Jeff Beaudre, the owners of Tipple's Brews and Wines in Gainesville, Florida. This week's wine of the week is actually probably disproportionately so from Uruguay again, right? But Garzon is an amazing winemaker, and they have such great, unique wines. So this week we're going to drink a new grape for all of us, the Marselan grape. This is not a red blend. This is the grape, and it is Marselan. We'll talk about that as we move forward. So if you have not already done so, it is time to pop the cork and pour yourself a glass.
So you always pour for me, but I'm not there. So am I doing a hard pour, or am I just pouring, or does it matter?
Do a hard pour.
Okay.
Hard pour on a swirl. Give this guy a breath.
I have had mine open for about 50 minutes now.
Nice. All right. So you'll be well on the way toward everything it'll do to open up. All right. So will you throw up the slide for me, please?
Mm-hmm.
Before you take a sip. I watch you going like this. Yep. Yeah, get over the slide.
Oh, yeah.
No sip for you. All right. The Bodega Garzon Marselan from Uruguay. James Suckling, 92 points. Food pairings: roast lamb with garlic and rosemary, pork and black bean stew, or lentil stew. So if it's rich and savory, this guy's your guy. All right. So varietal content in this guy is Marselan, which once again, like I said, we'll go into that. Alcohol content 14%. Will you take down the slide for me, please, Elizabeth?
Yes, and I have a question.
Yes.
Because I did actually eat, and I actually do have food tonight. So I have a mushroom and pepperoni pizza.
Okay.
How will that work with this?
Not bad. Not,
Okay.
you know, there are worse pairings. It
All
may
right.
not be exact, but it's certainly adjacent.
Okay.
So I'll take it. So like I said, alcohol content 14%. Take a quick sniff. Really roll it around the palate, chew the wine, as they say, run it around. Age worthiness before we dig in, right? So yes, it's ageable, and we're talking about a very reasonably priced wine, but it is ageable. I would say no more than 10 years on this guy, but the alcohol content at 14%, that'll work. The nice tannic content on here will help it hang out and just improve with some time. So enough tannins, yes. Acidity, medium acidity. This isn't an overly dry fruited tasting wine. It's fairly fresh on the fruit side, so it has some acid left, even though it's luscious. So all in all, you can get this guy, I'd say, up to 10 years, but this is not a 30-year, 50-year guy. All right. So go over some initial thoughts on the aromas and the flavors on this beauty. So to me, it's a combination of fruit, earth, and kind of an herby, almost floral quality on the nose. So red cherry, some blackberry.
Yeah, I can really taste the blackberry.
Right.
Good.
And then like an herby.
That was the first thing Brian said, actually. Brian said that first.
Earthy. Nice.
Very earthy. I was like,
Yeah.
really?
There you go. It is. It's an earthy, herby thing. And when we talk about what the origin is of this grape, it'll actually make a lot of sense as to why you've got like kind of a fruit thing going in, but then you suddenly get to the other flavors, you know, like that earthiness, the herbiness, and earthiness that's kind of elevated and jumps out of the glass. So that's because this wine is a crossbreed. It's a crossbreed of Cabernet Sauvign and Grenache. So
Mm.
Grenache is a very floral, herby wine, right? So it jumps right out with those qualities. And I think as we're smelling this, and just even with your initial initial impressions on this, it makes total sense. Like once you get that connection point, you're like, that's exactly what I think is going on, right?
Yeah, we had a different brand of wine with dinner, but right before, and I still had a little left. Actually, I still have a little left over here to the right of the screen. But you could really taste the difference in the herbiness and the earthiness compared to the other wine that I'm drinking, which I know is not the point of this tasting, but I can really tell a difference.
He means the
between
quality.
quality.
Yeah. Well, there is that
That's what I
too,
meant.
right?
Quality is better. That's what I meant to say.
Nice, nice.
It is nice
Thank
when you have a comparison, I
Yeah.
think, like to be able to say, oh, I do taste these differences because you're directly comparing it to something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I can't remember what the wine of the week was a couple weeks ago, but then we opened a bottle of the Cooper and Thief, and that's like Brian's loving that. And he's just like, we had the wine of the week and they tasted that. He's like, I still like this better. I'm like, that's okay. It's a good
That's
wine.
right.
I like that better.
Fair enough. But at the same time, I love that at the very least tasting the differences, because people will tell me, and some people that I love tell me, this red wine tastes like red wine. They all taste the same. Not Elizabeth.
Not me, but someone who looks similar to me, but younger.
Right. Yeah. Who tells me that like time and time again, red wine tastes red. It's fine. I don't care. And I'm like, no, you can. It really does taste different when you go from one to another. And anyway, so this guy, kind of a power blast of, you got like nice tannins, really nice fruit, but also some elevated herbiness, floral qualities, and earthiness on here, which I think makes it kind of a lot of fun. And the other thing that's fun is, Marselan. Who's ever heard of this grape? This is a very unusual small production grape that is got a kind of I think it's kind of a fun story. So we'll get into that.
I do want to make one comment.
Mhm.
I always drink wine out of the proper glass when I'm at the house, or at a restaurant, but I'm always drinking wine out of the proper glass. And this glass is not the proper glass for wine. It's very open because it's not a wine glass that I have here. And I'm having a much harder time getting the aroma from it. And I didn't realize what a difference the glass made.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. I love that point. This is fantastic. It's almost like, and by the way, we did not talk about this ahead of time, but so
No.
as you see in these Riedel glasses that we use, they come back in toward the top. So they're gathering aromas and concentrating them to make it easier to smell, and it makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting the taste, but I keep trying to I want to just cup the top of the glass and smell like this because I'm having a much harder time this week.
That's a fair point. Yeah, very good point. All right, if you will, let's go back to the slides.
Sure.
Thank you.
But they sell those glasses in Auburn.
They probably do, but I was going around getting other things like calendars and stuff today. So plus working, so but they probably do.
Okay, next slide, please. All right, so let's go over the label. So kind of our new-ish thing here on the label. So let's take a look at this guy. So Bodega Garzon right on the front, winery of the year. You know what? Worth bragging about. That was fantastic. They were the new World Wine of the Year in 2018 from Wine Enthusiast. That's no slouch. Marselan Reserva. So in this case, we have Marselan tells us the grape, the vintage 2019. So it's had a couple years. Reserva, that is the part, right, where it is defined in some countries and not in others. In Spain, Reserva actually requires a certain amount of aging in the a certain amount of aging while they ferment it and then finish the fermentation in the oak barrels in a certain amount of time in bottle. But outside of Spain, Reserva can mean pretty much whatever they want, right? So in this case, because Uruguay doesn't have that defined, and if it does, then call me wrong, but I don't believe they do. Reserva doesn't really tell you much within, though I would guess, not that I saw it mentioned. So here's my guess. All right, sorry, I'm talking in circles. Because of the Spanish influence in Argentina, my guess is that they're probably meeting the Reserva timetable of aging that happens in Spain, and that's probably why they're calling it a Reserva. But I have not found a statement to tell me that exactly is the case. Because outside of Spain, if you're in Uruguay or in the United States, you can call anything a Reserva. It doesn't matter. It's my Reserva. That's an extra good one. Why? Because I said so. So in this case, my point only is I'm not quite sure what to make out of that word. But then again, because Garzon has proven to be such an excellent wine producer, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Garzon, Uruguay. Within Uruguay, they do have sub AVAs, but they're not really well defined and defended at this point. So when they say it's just Uruguayan wine, this actually is coming from the area within Uruguay that's making the best wine, but they can't really throw that on the label yet because they haven't defined it. So these are things that that I just know. Estate bottled, so estate grown, estate produced, estate bottled, that is a wonderful indicator. They are in control of every step on this guy. So Garzon grows the grapes, Garzon picks the grapes, Garzon ferments the grapes and bottles all of this product, the wine. So they are in 100% control of this. That is a big step up in assessment of a wine. It isn't the end all be all. We've had some delicious ones where they don't, and they are negotiants and they buy the grapes. But the bottom line is it always makes me feel better to know when they do have that level of control. If you like the wine, you're likely to like more of their wines and that type of a thing, because it's indicative that they have control. You're tasting what they want you to taste, and they have control over that taste. So year on year, vintage on vintage, less likely to be different. This is what I'm thinking. Those are my impressions as I read the label. So
when reps or distributors come to you and with a new wine, is this one of the things that you're doing to evaluate it? Are you looking at the label and evaluating it like separately from what they're telling you to, or not?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. Well, because I have a certain quality level of wine that I want in our store. And because we're not going to have 10,000 different bottles, we're going to have a pared down choice of, but though, you know, I think we have a great selection from around the world and representative of all the most important areas. But with that in mind, I can't carry all of them. And so, yes, I do look at it, I assess it. And for example, we've actually had, and I called it an exception to the rule, a Napa Valley produced wine about 4 or 5 weeks ago that was delicious. And I gave it my full support. But based on the label, I would have had reservations until I learned more about it, right?
So when they brought it in for you to taste, did you look at the label and think, oh, I'm probably not going to like this?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, good. I absolutely did. I looked at it and I said, this guy's probably not going to be good enough for my store, but it proved me wrong, and as an exception, which is fair enough. I mean, you know, the only thing that has a fantastically stable definition in the wine world is that nothing is always true, right?
Absolutely.
You can just get, you know, a usually true, give you an idea. So, okay, next slide, please. All right, Marselan. So the Marselan grape is a cross between Cabernet Sauvignon and Grenache. It originated in 1961 in the south of France, in the Languedoc area. So let's see here. And that's why, by the way, the reason that the password was hippie was because it originated in 1961. So there we go. I keep forgetting to explain my ridiculous passwords. And I thought, if I'm going to put the thought into it, otherwise I'll just put password 12345 12346.
So
Right.
do they still have it in the Languedoc area? Like, are they producing anything like this?
Yes, they are. Yeah. So right now, Marselan is produced in France. When they say France, it is in the Languedoc area, which the next slide, if you want to go forward to it, will show you where in France that is. There we go. So Marseille, down in the south of France there, on the border of Provence and Languedoc, right? That's why it's Marselan. It's of Marseille, right? So he did name it after the region. Grown in France, Spain, China, Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. And it is gaining in popularity. It is, I think, a delicious grape, a delicious wine. Whether you put it in a red blend or have it by itself, it is a little easier to grow, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I think that makes it something with our changing world, when it comes to weather, that having something that can be a little more robust and yet is delicious is going to make a lot of sense as we move forward.
So did I miss it, or did you not mention the US? We don't grow it here.
Nope, we don't really. There's no significant presence here that I've found at all. So, next slide, if you would, please. Thank you. All right, this is also, because we talked about recently the Sagrantino that we drank from California. That was, one of, if not the most healthy grape in the world. And Tannat, which, everyone knows I love Tannat. I'm a Tannat guy. This guy is one of the healthiest in the world. It comes in at roughly 3 times the polyphenol content of Merlot. So running around 3,000 on that chart. So well up there. So it's definitely an honorable mention and a very healthy grape. Why does it have all those? That has to do with thick skins, robust skins, and a high skin to juice ratio. This has that because it has smaller berries. Robust.
So, this again goes along with our January health kick then.
Absolutely. It's a healthy wine. Those people that are not drinking it might be not being as healthy as they could be. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So, all right. So, going to France, small, very thick skinned. And, so because if you go to the next slide for me, please. So thick skinned, a lot of intensity, obviously kind of a nice center there because we're not dealing with an overly flabby, juicy grape. We're dealing with a robust, powerful outer skin, but also kind of a powerful inner combination of sugar and acid that works out to be, I think there's got to be a real future for this grape. Honestly, I want to see a red blend of Marselan and Sagrantino. And just, I think that would be amazing. That Sagrantino was delicious that we had a couple of weeks ago. Next slide for me, please. All right, so where in the world are we? We are at the northern part of the latitude of the southern growing region.
Okay, I don't know where any of these things are, and I'm the person with the cursor. So
you're almost there, right there. See that orange section? So to your right?
To my right here?
Boom, that's it.
Okay.
Nailed it. This is great. We can work remotely. That's how close we are. So there we go. It's in the northern part. It's got a little more humidity, and that is one of the things. A little warmer, a little more humidity. They've got to have that thicker skinned grapes. That's why Tannat works, Marselan works in that region, because it can handle it without rotting the grapes.
Okay.
All right, next one, please. All right, so here we have the blue region on the far right there, not the Brazilian, a little lower.
Oh, here,
There
sorry.
you go. That's what
The
we're
chat
talking about.
box was in the way, and so, okay, there we go.
Yeah. Perfect. So, and then let's go to the next one. There we go. So within there, so we're talking about the Canelones region, which is
Here.
there you go. Perfect. That is the most prestigious region for wine production within Uruguay. Uruguay is best known for Tannat, but now they're throwing their hand in with this mature Marselan. I think they're going to do really, really well with it. It's a delicious glass of wine. It tastes familiar. You know, if you weren't told what it was, I think you might mistake it for Cab, Cab Sauv. So I think it works really, really well. It scratches the itch. It's very familiar tasting. Let's see here. So located between Argentina and Brazil, Canelones region in the south, maritime influence to cool it off, helps reduce that humidity enough. It's still fairly humid for a growing region, but because of the maritime influence, and you get that ocean breeze in there, it does make it so it still works. The regions in the northern part of Uruguay, it's because it begins to gain altitude up into the mountains in the Andes. So the in-between is no man's land. It's going to be humid and low. So you've got the ocean saving it near the southern part of Uruguay, and the mountains saving it near the northern part. And actually that covers all of that. Next one, please. So this is what it looks like, Uruguay vineyards. This is also Garzon.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah, it is both. Garzon is the most famous within Uruguay. The picture for Uruguayan vineyards literally brings up Garzon. So they are the dominant force by far, and justifiably so. They make amazing wine. So what we're talking about is kind of you guys are going to be shocked. Clay, fast drying sand. So you've got high minerality, low water retention when it comes to the soil, so that the grapes struggle. So they
we've been here before.
yes.
When this vineyard, isn't this the one you can stay at?
Yes, they are a destination location.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's what I thought I remembered, that like one of them, it was like a resort type place too, right?
yes, absolutely. Amazing restaurant, and it looks like a James Bond location.
Do you have a closer view of it too?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Oh,
Should I advance?
you should advance. There we go.
Okay.
All right, so let's go with the Bulgaroni family is from. He is a Brazilian, and it's not just Brazil, South American energy magnate. So they were the New World Winery of the Year in 2018. He is, they say, oil billionaire. He actually does multiple different energy endeavors at this point.
Didn't you say this one? I'm trying to remember back when we were there before. This one is
Right.
like clean energy or organic or close to it or something?
Right, and lots of solar, all sustainable. This used to be a cattle farm, and then he really so Alejandro really became infatuated with wine, and then he began, whereas many of us would begin collecting wine, drinking wine, Alejandro began owning wineries. multiple wineries. And then he realized, and he hired a wine consultant, that they came in and they realized Uruguay had this unique opportunity to grow amazing wine here. So they started this beautiful location, built from scratch. This is the beginning of it, but it is not going to be the end of it. It will be there a long time, really making a statement about what you can do in Uruguay. Their wines are getting constantly amazing reviews for a good reason. And anyway, they're killing it. They're doing a great job. So I got to tip of the hat to him, his winemakers, the entire group that put it together and saw there was no wine there, and they saw the potential and they've developed it. And it is, I think, beautiful production.
I guess I'm surprised to hear it used to be a cattle farm for two reasons, because I would think they would need something to graze on. And
Mhm.
also all the nitrates that then they're leaving in the soil.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes a minimum of 5 years to get your grapevines mature enough to produce wine.
So they were
Yeah.
gone by then.
Right. So by then it's gone.
Yeah.
So Bodega Garzon made the world's first Tannat that broke the top 100 wines in the Wine Spectator. So they brought basically these are the guys that brought Tannat onto the world stage and said, this doesn't have to be a minor blending grape just to add tannins, which is kind of what it's used for in France. That it can be an amazing grape on its own if you work it correctly. And it is one of those where I talk about with a couple of different grapes, like Carmenere is delicious, properly grown and vinted. Terrible when they cut corners, right? Tannat, I've had poorly grown Tannat. It's not fun. It's just astringent and red and tart and not fun, So, but they've shown, but properly handled, it is absolutely beautiful. And I love that they're working with Marselan now. And we actually drank with their Petit Verdot right before that, which is another one that is typically a blending grape, and they work with it individually. Some other people do as well, but theirs is particularly good, particularly affordable, and not that many people are working with a 100% Petit Verdot. So I love what they're doing. I think they're bold. I think that they really make good wine. And I may sound like I'm gushing about those guys. You guys have heard me a lot of times. I really don't do that, but I absolutely respect what they're doing down there. It's great work. So let's go ahead into the next one. So sustainable, state-of-the-art, gorgeous location. That's a little closer in where you can see like the infinity pools up there. It's pretty neat. And if you go in to the next one, there we go, a little closer shot. That's why I was saying this looks like something out of James Bond when you're in the middle of Uruguay and it looks like this. It's really cool. And the next one, please. And so here's some of their fermentation vessels.
So I'm looking at concrete and some kind of wood.
Yes, and and oak as well. So
I
depending
was
on what they're
gonna say
working
oak
with.
because I never hear anything else, but
Yeah, no, it's oak for sure.
okay.
You're not meant to swim in those pools outside, are you? It's just for looks, right?
I don't know, but one could hope.
It would be cool, right?
Even if you're not allowed, you still could, right?
That's right. I think we should find out.
Just on the last day, you just go dive in, Don't do it on the
That's right.
first day, you get kicked out.
Right. You find out there are sharks with laser beams on their head.
Exactly.
Next one, please. All right. So, and then they have amazing dining, and yeah, it looks like a place that I definitely want to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. And the next. All right. So this guy has 92 points from the on the ratings. So not to let that influence you in any way. Like I say, 90 to 94 is an outstanding wine of superior character and style. 85 to 89, maybe you just think, you know what? That was a very good wine. It made me happy. Give it an 89. That's not an insult. So what are you guys thinking?
So you can go ahead and type in the chat box.
Yep.
So from the Hogsheads, we have a 92 to 93.
Mhm.
From Laura, Linda, Brenda, we have all 92s.
Nice.
93, impressed with the berry flavor. That was Brian.
Mhm.
And 92 from Julie.
Hmm.
I don't know if there are more.
Are we allowed to unmute and talk about it?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
I was like, do we just have to type?
Yeah.
So I really like it, especially as it's opened up too. At first I was like, ooh, I really like this. And now I'm like, ooh, I really like this.
Mhm.
But I also, normally we have a charcuterie board, but we had a late dinner. So we were like, we don't need any more food. But I was like, I feel like cheese, like the smoothness of cheese would really like level out some of the earthiness, because I love big, bold, dry, but it was
Mhm.
like, I wanted to taste, like Brian was like, I really taste the berries. And I was like, I taste them, but I feel like the way they're being talked about. So I don't know if we ate too close and we ate kind of spicy, like taco dinner. For me, it was like numbing out some of the sweetness, but then like literally just eating like a little bit of like creamy cheese was just like done. Like now it was perfect, level out. So great.
Yeah, it really is quite dry, and especially mine has now been open for about 45 minutes, right? So it's hit the peak, right? It's there, and it is very much in a kind of almost a French style, because you're right. There's a beautiful balance of the fruit, the earth, the herbs, and the nice tannins drying out your palate all at the same time, which makes you want food, right? It's just,
Right.
oh yeah, I want this with something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it was, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do a whole board. I like made a little plate of cheese and I was like, I am in love.
Perfect combination.
Right. And I think the other side of this too is, you give it 45 minutes, it opens up, even though it's this $18 bottle of wine, right? And now this is drinking so much bigger and with so much more, flavor and finesse than a sub $20 bottle of wine has any business drinking. So I think the value point on this guy is insane.
This is sub 20.
This is sub 20
Wow.
day
No,
to day,
I would not have guessed that. I thought we were talking at least 30 on it.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and reasonably so.
Yeah.
Especially
So,
if you
and
know.
Consuelo says 93.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you think?
I would have said 92, 93. I
Yeah.
keep going back and forth. I really, really like it. Now, mine was, and we have 190 here as well. So our range is 90 to 93. That's a small range, small and
Right,
all
yeah.
within that second to top tier there.
Mhm.
Mine has stayed fairly the same tasting the whole time, but again, it was open. I opened mine at 7:15.
Oh,
So,
yeah, right.
yeah, so it was open a good 45 minutes before we started, and now it's been almost an hour and a half. So, so I've liked it the whole time, but I haven't had a lot of evolution with it.
That makes sense. Yeah, because
Mhm.
this guy, because once again, we're talking about a wine that retails at $18 to begin with, but a high quality version. So it's going to open and it's going to stop, right? That's its thing, right? You have now reached what it has to offer, but what it has to offer is quite good. You know, it's a great wine. There's a reason I was excited to share it with you guys. It wasn't just that it was a new grape, that it's a new grape that I think is absolutely fantastic.
So I'm going to ask a question that probably rarely needs to be asked, but how long can a wine bottle stay open and still taste good?
It's going to change depending on the wine,
Mhm.
right? So
So this one, for example.
this guy, so let's say you poured yourself a glass or a
Mhm.
glass and a half,
Glass and a half.
cork it up, throw it in the fridge, open it up tomorrow. It still tastes good,
Okay.
right?
All right.
You know, the
Because
next
I'm
day,
with someone who does not drink wine and I can't drink the whole bottle myself.
right? No, you can do it over 2 days. That'll be fine.
Okay.
Not with that attitude, you can, Elizabeth.
That's right. I mean, on day 3, it's not going to taste terrible. It's just going to taste like generic red.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff,
You
I had a
know.
question about like your pairings. I think I've seen cheesecake a couple times, but I don't really see a lot of sweets on there. Is that like frowned upon to pair with red wines or any wines in general? I mean, like
No, it's just that normally they're
question.
consumed with dinner, you know,
Yeah.
so. Mhm.
But then I mean, Lily made a nice pineapple turnover cake, which is my favorite cake tonight, and I think it paired pretty well with this. But a sweeter wine probably would have paired a little bit better. But I don't really see that very often on your pairing sheets.
Yeah, there's not a lot of, especially dry wines are not often paired up with sweets. It's not that they can't, but it's just not the common pairing, you know, recommendations. So, I mean, you could drink this with some nice dark chocolate. That'd be no problem. You could
I was
totally
gonna
do that.
say, yeah, because there's a lot of brown sugar in that cake, and so that would make it a little bit more appropriate than just a cake.
Yeah, it would be helpful. I mean, I still think like a pineapple upside down cake, I would probably go with something like you know, a Riesling, or especially a 1976 Riesling, Jerry. Because if you have that older white wine, it caramelizes and it gets kind of a pairing with the caramelized sugar, which is really fun. You know, interestingly, it would be considered a flaw, but I've had them and they're delicious. An old, like over the hill Sauvignon Blanc, as they age, they get a little darker as well, and they get a little bit of a caramelized, like Meyer lemon quality, which also would be delicious. And it is technically a flaw, but I'm telling you, in that situation, it would be amazing. So wine is always awesome. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it just is. I love wine. So. All right. So let's thank our sources. We'll talk about next week. All right, let me get this. I was about to ask Elizabeth to get this thing out of my way, but that would not be happening. I'm in charge of my own. So Wine Folly 750, Wikipedia, Bodega Garzon. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wonderful information with us. And next week, I hope you will choose to join us again, because we're going to combine a couple of my favorite things. So next week, the Alpha Estate Florina Utopia Tannat. We're going to go Grecian Tannat. I've actually been waiting for this wine to come in. You guys know I'm a huge Tannat fan. Big, bold, tannic, badass wine. But combining it with Greece, and honestly, we had the Malaguzia, we had the Casino Mavro from Alpha Estate a long time ago now. I've been waiting to be able to bring in the Utopia. It is finally here. I'm super excited. It's a big boy, spiced lamb chops, Kokinisto, a Greek beef stew. Stifado is a red wine beef stew, sharp or blue cheeses. big hearty meats and hearty cheeses all work with this guy. I'm trying to think back. I think this is the first Tannat I ever had, which
So-
oddly enough,
I'm going off the blue cheese and what you like. Could you do a bacon blue cheese burger with this? With that?
you know I could. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Bacon blue cheeseburger would be amazing. Blue cheese with the I'm blanking. The king of mushrooms.
Oh. Yeah, the giant mushroom, portobello's.
Yeah, portobello. Thank you. Blue cheese portobello burger kind of thing would be amazing as well. So yeah. So any of those things, big, savory, rich, it can work with it. This is really fun, and this, as far as I know, completes my Tannat tour. Like as far as I'm able to taste with what's available in the state of Florida right now, this one will complete the cycle of Tannat. So, and it was the one that began my love affair with Tannat, which is appropriate. So, anyway, I hope you guys will join us. I think you'll love it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So,
When I first went onto the slide, because I don't see them ahead of time, I just looked at the top line and I was like, Florida. Oh,
no.
Greece. Because I read Florina as Florida and I was horrified at first, but
Well, and it's not like I've ever had a typo with when I've done my my write-up. So why would you possibly think that I wrote Florida?
okay, I'm going to stop the share. But we can talk about the wine some more if anybody has any comments or questions or anything. Or about the vineyard.
What were the suggested pairings for tonight? Just because we are catching up on life and holidays and birthdays and all of that. Like, we didn't even pay attention.
Oh,
I can go back to the beginning if you'd like.
thank you. That'll be
For
easy.
tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, also, I did print them out. So roast lamb with garlic and rosemary, pork and black bean stew or lentil stew.
Okay, so not so heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, rich, but doesn't have to be crazy heavy.
Right. Yeah, we were like sitting, I don't know, what did you think with your cake?
Oh, the cake was a little sweet for the wine,
Yeah.
I thought, but it's very good. Both were very good, but it wasn't the best pairing.
But like the not sharp cheeses, like I had a Gruyere.
Cheese was a better pairing. than
It
the
was
cake.
so good. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was wondering if that was one of the suggested things. And
Oh yeah, I'd say a nice smoked cheese or something would be amazing with
we did a
this.
smoked Gouda,
Smoked
a
Gouda,
Gruyere,
Yes, yes,
and a
yes.
Havarti. So like all really creamy.
Mhm. Yeah,
to
totally
offset.
would be amazing because it is tannic. I mean, it's when this guy opens up, it's grippy, and which is one of the things that'll allow it to age, even though it's really not a very expensive wine. But a nice creamy cheese with that to counterpoint would be beautiful.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
I see lamb mentioned a lot on there. Like, does everyone in this group cook lamb very often? Just curious, because I cook
Jerry's like,
lamb
I do. I
once
love
out of like
lamb.
every 2 years. I might cook lamb.
Yeah.
lot.
Is it more common than what
No.
I cook? I mean, I don't know.
No, it's just one of those where when you talk about like if you don't want to go full strength beef every single time, or if you're a struggling presenter that is trying to find interesting things week after week for red
You made
wine,
yourself
and you don't want to
sound
say,
more- okay, I got it.
if you don't want to say steak every single week.
I got it. All
Okay,
right.
so Jerry said yes, but do you guys make lamb pretty often?
A few times a month. It's pretty easy to make lamb
Two or
chops.
three, yeah, it's
Oh
easy.
wow, okay.
Yeah, I've got a simple recipe. If anybody wants it, you put it in the broiler for 10 minutes and it's done.
Yeah,
Oh wow. I was gonna say
love
after
it.
the recording, we're gonna share recipes.
We'll do that, yeah. Well, tonight I had steamed chicken wings, but with a heavy chili sauce with a lot of garlic. It really went
Yeah.
well
No,
with the wine.
sounds good.
Well, and then if you look at the chat box, okay, what's IG?
Instagram.
Instagram. Thank you. I was like, Instagram. Okay. The Instagram says provincial vegetable tart, juniper rubbed roast duck, truffle, and rosemary popcorn. Huh. And
Okay.
1924 Maytag blue cheese. Very
Really?
cool.
All
Yeah.
right.
Because I was looking at it and thinking, does she mean OG?
The original wine gangster.
Yeah.
That's right. I can say my 1924 Maytag stopped running in the 50s.
Yeah, just really long time ago.
Yeah, I didn't mean to blow you up on the spot with the lamb, but I mean, I maybe cooked lamb like twice or three times in my life. So
Oh yeah, no,
I
I
keep
have
seeing it,
cooked
you know?
very little lamb. I mean, it is an exceptionally good pairing. I mean, there are times when, and I've had a few of them, especially from Greece, where you say, "Oh, well, goat," you know, but it's like, how many of us have ever cooked goat? You know, it's
Yeah.
not so much an American norm. It's
No, I
still a
had
really
plenty
good
of goat
pairing, and it
cheese,
makes it
but-
fun and fun to discuss. But yeah,
Mhm.
fair enough if you haven't made it.
Yeah, it's like Jeff said though, it's hard to, when you have red, just be saying steak.
Right, you don't want to say it every time. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well,
Sure.
you know what'd be good with this steak and portobello mushroom steak, you know. So you try to get creative, and it's almost like, well, maybe I'll get somebody to try something new, and they'll love it. So
My mother never cooked lamb because I don't think she knew how to cook it. And I don't know about the availability in those days, but the grocery stores have chops quite often. When I speak of Publix, they have the loin chops with the long bone, which cost twice as much as the sirloin chops, which are just fine. I mean, you can get 5 or 6 sirloin chops for $10. They really come out nice. There's a number of ways to fix it.
yeah. And there we go. Advice on that. All right. So everybody, shall we toast out this wonderful young, as far as wine, wine grapes have been in the world. This is youngster. This is just around since 1961. So we're talking about 60 years. And a toast to you, Marselan. Welcome to the world. And thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, everyone.
Sláinte.